Hello everyone, my name's Tony and I'm going to be following Massive Wagons on the European Tour 2025, covering 10 dates in Europe, and I'm hopefully going to share this journey with you and you can see the insights of it. Part 1 will be a little bit about myself, so if you're feeling you need to go to sleep, just watch that. And part 2 will be the itinerary of how I've planned it, where I'm going, what I'm doing, what train I'm catching and things like that. And then I'll be hopefully following the band around and I'll be bringing you updates of videos of the gigs and hopefully catch up with the guys on the tour and also the support bands, Strike, who are going to be touring with the guys. They're coming over in May to do 4 gigs. So I saw them before in Antwerp and they were excellent. So I'll hopefully catch up with them and bring you a little bit of insight into them. Also, I'm going to see These Wicked Rivers, hopefully, while I'm there, so I'll bring you a bit of that one. New Roses, while I'm in Switzerland, and when I get back, Hot Damn, they're playing on the day I get back, so I'll try and bring you all that as well. So it's an action-packed 13 gigs in 15 days. Let's go for it. So a little bit about myself. I'm 60 years old. Through the 70s, I always liked the guitar sound, so I heard early Slade and Sweet, bands like that, T-Rex, and I liked the guitars. And then I saw Status Quo, I think, on Top of the Pops, doing Down Down, and I thought, oh, I like this sound, dun, 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 dun. So I bought a couple of their early albums, Hello and Pile Driver, and I thought, oh, these were excellent. So I got into Status Quo, I became a rocker. I had big quiffy hair up here. Yep, never had it cut for years. And I think times have changed. And then I followed Status Quo, wore denim all the time. And then I went to see him first in 1981, Manchester Apollo. Got absolutely blown away. Superb gig. And then I started following them everywhere. 1982, I went with my friends who I knew, a few Quo fans from where I was living in Lee. We followed them around, went to a few gigs, loved it. In 83, I got my first car, Ford Escort. And from then on, I then followed them around. 84, they actually were splitting up. So I thought, oh, I've got to try and get to a few gigs. And that's where I started really. When I like a band, I just can't do one gig. One gig's never enough on a tour. I found that through my life. So if I like a band, I'll go and watch them. Not just once, but as many as I can. So in 1984, end of the road, I thought, right, this is end of the road. We'll get to as many as we did. So we did the Apollo, NEC, D-Side, Bridlington, Blackpool. I was going all over in the car. Took 2 weeks holiday. Just jumped in my car and off I went. Where, did plenty of gigs. Finished off in Milton Keynes and I thought, that's it, end of the road. I picked up another band called Hanoi Rocks, Michael Monroe, at the time. Got into them. They were great. Went to saw them at a place called Manchester Gallery. I ended up getting kicked in the face by him. So, ended up with my teeth like they are. As he jumped into the crowd and launched himself, and I didn't see it coming, and I just felt a big boot in my face and a bit of that. Great gig. Started following them, and then unfortunately, we all know what happened there, which was really sad. And from then on, I went to another band called the Cherry Bombs, which was Andy McCoy from Hanoi Rocks and Nasty Suicide. They didn't last long, but I found myself following them, and I used to go to gigs. I was sleeping in a car, following them around. I remember one gig I went on the M62 to Bradford, come back, and on the M62 me Vauxhall Viva at the time decided to pack up, so I ended up in Artshed Moor Services, abandoning my car, thumbing home, and I was on a 6-2 the following morning. So I ended up there thumbing all my way home. I managed to get, well, I didn't get to home actually. I got thumbed down the M62 to the East Lancashire Road, walked down the East Lancs Road, and I remember getting in work. It took me all night to get home, and I got in work for the early shift. I was on at 6 o'clock and I got there at 5:45, and I was tired. I'd had a good night, but somehow I did it. So if you see a Vauxhall Viva at Shed St Moors, you know it's mine. Probably got an hefty bill. But anyway, so I followed them. They didn't last long. So then I followed Status Quo still. They got back together and I went watching them. I remember seeing them at Reading. I got blown away by him again at Reading. The music front, I didn't really like their albums. I didn't really like In Complaining, Perfect Remedy, not my Quo albums. But live, they were still got it. They were great. Rick and Francis, Rhino, great guys, all of them. You know, Andy Bown, Jeff Rich, they were great. And live, they still had it. So if I was following them, I've clocked up 119 Quo gigs. I've counted them all up over the years. Whether or not they tour again, who knows? But Francis is doing his tunes and chat, and I'll probably go and watch that maybe later in the year because he's actually in Warrington when I'm away, so I can't make that one. So I came across Massive Wagons back to the start through Status Quo, really. I heard it and I thought, oh, this is all right. I quite like this tune. Didn't really know nothing about the guys, what was going on. I hadn't listened to much. I then found Full Nelson through it. I don't remember Welcome to the World at the time. I didn't really pick that one up at the minute. I don't know why. But I picked Ratio up because the earache had thrown it on Full Nelson and Tokyo. And I love the album, apart from one song, which I'm not going to mention, but you might have an idea. I don't know. Anyway, so I picked that up and I love that album. But I was going through a funny stage at my time. I'd come out of a relationship and I wasn't really in a good place. So I wasn't on the live scene. I weren't watching live bands. So I completely missed the boat with them. I didn't see them. And they toured with Leonard Skinner and Quo and I didn't go. I was through it was a rough time for me. But I came out the other side. And I came out of it really through COVID. When COVID came, I found Wagons online and they were doing quite a lot of online. So I tuned into that and I used to enjoy that. That kept me going. And then when COVID finished, I thought, come on, what are you doing with yourself? You've got to get out there, enjoy yourself again. Life's too short, enjoy yourself. So they announced the House of Noise tour. So my first gig was, Massive Wagons gig was at Manchester Academy 2 on the House of Noise. And I went there and I was blown away. I remember standing out in the forum before going in, and I remember seeing Gareth and Rookie on the merch, and Baz walked past me, give me a nod. You couldn't go then in COVID. You couldn't go close. We were still having to. You had to prove that you got the injections, aren't you, before you could get in a gig. You were showing them and crazy situation that you had to prove that you'd had injections to go through a gig. But that's how it was. So I followed that. So I remember seeing Stevie there, chatting to people. I didn't approach anyone. Didn't really know anyone. I hadn't met anyone. But I joined Patron. I enjoyed it that much, and I joined Patron, and I got in the House of Noise higher tier. Lucky Space got in, and I started to meet online. I saw the Patron group, and they were great. I didn't know anyone, but I started finding my way around. Baz had this thing called T-shirt Tuesday, where we still do it now. And at the time, I was being a bit daft and silly. I was a bit all over there, and I was posting silly pictures every week. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I don't do it anymore. I'm more sensible now. I've grown up at last, or rather, who knows? Anyhow, so I started to do that. So I enjoyed the gig so much. I then went to the Grand Central in Liverpool on the tour. Another blown away again. I thought, yep. I'm in my happy place here. This band are really good. I got all the albums by then. I knew the songs, and it was my cup of tea. So then they announced that they were touring with the Darkness. 30 minutes, opening set. Couldn't beat it. So off I went. Liverpool, first one. Loved it. Brilliant. 30 minutes, show opener. I did like the Darkness. They were all right. They were I didn't mind them. I love the first album. Second album as well. I thought, yeah, nothing to lose. went over to Liverpool, had a good time. The guys were great, went down well. Again, I think they found quite a few new fans, you know, through the Diaires. So from there, I then went to Stoke, and that's where I first met the band. They were all masked up and all that. Got quite a few snaps, which I probably shouldn't have done. Well, I got told off anyhow by the tour manager of the Diaires, and so we followed that. And like, you know, that was my first real experience of meeting the guys. So down to earth, great set of guys. I loved it. And then from then on, I went over to Leeds, and that's where I really met my first Wagons fan in a way, was Claire, who runs the fans. We had a chat outside. I then bumped into Alex, the drummer, who, it was a cold, wet December day, invited me into the tour bus, gave me a nice cup of coffee, warm me up, had a quick chat, and that was it. I went to the gig, had a great time, loved it. And then from then on, I did Nottingham as well on that tour, good gig. Great. So that was my first real year of enjoying Massive Wagons. So the following year, they announced certain gigs catching up with COVID that they'd cancelled and things. So I remember going to Stoke, the Sugar Mill, and I started to then meet up with fans who we were chatting away on Patreon. So I then became part of that, and that is just as good as the gigs for me, because I really enjoy meeting everyone, and it's part of the gig, meeting before and after, having a chat, having a laugh, and we've all got some great stories to tell of our gigs. So then I'd already got the Tivoli booked, and they were doing a weekender. They were doing Call of the Wild headliner on the Friday, Tivoli on the Saturday, and the First Direct Arena on the Sunday, supporting Thunder and Ugly Kid Joe. So I only got a ticket for the Tivoli. Anyhow, on Sunday, on the day of Call of the Wild, I was off. I got the weekend off, and I thought, and I'm laying there, and I thought, I'll get up, and then I thought, just fancy Call of the Wild here, as you do. So I booked a ticket, and I drove to Lincoln, and it was a blinder. You know, I met up with quite a lot of the Wagons crew. We had a laugh we had all the pink t-shirts and having a laugh. And there were some great bands on, you know, some real bands I found through Massive Wagons, through their support. You know, they've always had a good support band on, and that was a great day. The Tivoli the day after was another stonking gig. I found These Wicked Rivers through them, and then we went to the Sunday, and that didn't quite go to plan. So I arrived at Leeds First Direct Arena, and it's quite a big, steep, I don't know if you know Leeds Arena, it's quite steep. But I was on the floor, and it was seated, but I was on the very back row, right in the front of the sound guy. And I was 2 seats from the end, far end. So I wasn't blocking anyone's path or anything. I wasn't in anybody's way. It was early. It wasn't over full at that time, so I didn't have anyone next to me. And next to me, I had 2 girls, a few seats to that, and there were people in front dashing. There was a few people coming in it. So the Wagons came on, and they came on to Back to the Stack. Well, I got up. I stood up, as you do. You don't sit down to Wagons, do you? Anyhow, this is not a standing up gig. Can you sit down, please? And I noticed 1 or 2 people, and they were picking them out. You've got to sit down. This could be a bit of a problem. Okay, so I sat there. This isn't working. Up I get. So they go into song The Pressure. Love Pressure, great song. Get up again. Sit down. Stand. So I looked around. I said, well, I'm not blocking anybody's view here. I'm on the back row. I'm stood in front of the sound man. He's not really watching me. He's watching the sound and doing this. I'm not really blocking anyone, am I? Sorry, it's the rules. Sit down again. So they're going through the songs. So I thought, I'll take a few pictures. Can't take pictures. Really? Okay. So the guys carry on, they're playing through songs. I'm up and down, rocking, I'm giving it all this. It's physically impossible to stay still to Diaires. I was up. I was giving it the all guitar. Listen, I've been watching you. You're a troublemaker. You're here to cause trouble. You're drunk. You're not in charge of yourself. You're going to cause a lot of problems all night. People are complaining. Who's complaining? I looked at people. Are you complaining? No. Are you complaining? No. What's the problem? You're trouble. Sorry, you're trouble. Oh. Anyhow, the guys then went into the last song, which was In It Together. So I just thought, we're all in it together, aren't we? So I was up again and I was giving it, sorry, you're going to have to leave. You're a troublemaker. You're going to cause problems for us. You're going to have to go. So I said, right, I'm not going to cause you any problems. I will walk out. And I'm not, fair enough. So I ended up being thrown out. So half an hour into a gig, I was thrown out. So I never saw Ugly Kid Joe. And I never saw Thunder. And so that was that. I got this notorious reputation being a troublemaker. Really? Anyhow, so we had a bit of a laugh online. The lads had a laugh about it. I saw the funny side, which I do. I don't take things too seriously into heart. I did complain to First Arena and never heard anything back, which I didn't expect to. And that was that. And people said, they saw me getting thrown out, and it just one of them things. Move on. So from there now, I've followed them around a bit to a few gigs, and then a European tour, first European tour came up for me, and they were doing a place called Essen, Hanover, and Hamburg. So a friend of mine with Aaron, we booked it, and we went over there and we flew in to Dusseldorf, and we went to Essen, and it was an absolute great gig. I loved it. I met a few people there, Gary and the McVitie's, and it wasn't overpacked, but it was a good gig, and that was my first taste of a European gig, and I loved it. I loved Germany. I thought the travel getting around was a lot better than the UK. It was easy to do, and I met some really nice European people. We went to Hanover and had a great gig. There was a band called the Mercury Rights who were supporting them. They were great lads as well. And then we went to Hanover, and that was completely different. That was a bigger venue, the Reeperbahn area. It was a fantastic gig. There was moshing. It really had the atmosphere, and that's where I played a little trick on Baz when, I don't know if anybody's seen me with the set list, where we decided that I'd be set list. So the guys had all their set lists down, and I'd had a T-shirt. I went to Woolworths. There was Woolworths in there, and bought a T-shirt, and we wrote the set list out. The guys gave me the set list, and we wrote it out as Baz writes, because he always writes little things like Harry said this, and Dave said this, and Dave mentioned this. So I wrote it out as his set list exactly. And a couple of numbers in, Baz is looking around, and they changed the set. They changed the set a little bit. They added a couple of songs that they hadn't done. I know Tokyo was one. So he had all this, and he's looking around, and he's like, the gig stops dead, and he's like, where's my set list? Where's my set list? Where's my set list? And the lads are pointing at me, and I'm like, that, Baz, where's Baz? And he's like, oh, and he's like that, getting up close, looking at me. What a laugh. We had a right laugh, and he's like, and there's a photo with me and that. And we ended up raffling that T-shirt off for a good cause of his, and it went to someone who I don't know, so I don't know if they ever got that T-shirt. And they were never online, but this T-shirt would have turned up all sweaty from that gig because I never washed it. Because I thought, it's one of them, you wear it once. Also, I remember driving to Dover. They were playing a gig in Dover, going over doing some at a festival. They announced Dover, and I drove there and back in the same day. That's what I was like. If I like wagons, if I like a band, I'll follow them, and I'll do go to the extreme. So I like a 6 hour car journey there, and then I drove back after the gig. I didn't stay over. Mad, but that's how I was. We did the Lancaster festival as well, so we were playing in the prison, the old Lancaster prison, and then the brewery. So we did those gigs as well, and the Patron Bash as well, which was always a great time. We all dress up. We pick the set list, and the guys play it, and we heard, like, for the first time, Death or Glory. We've heard Julia, and the Patron Bash is an absolute fantastic thing. I love it. I look forward to that every year, and I can't wait for this year. We all fancy dress. We all have a laugh. There's awards given. The guys play a completely different set. They play some old ones, some new ones, songs that they never played before, and it's a great evening, and I love it. And that's one thing I really look forward to every year, is the Patron Bash. So I followed them in 22. Triggered came out. They played a few songs on it live. I remember Generation Prime. I remember they did play Big Time as well early on. And then more songs got into the set. And I went to a couple of the record stores at Lancaster and Jesse Ender in Liverpool. And then they announced the Triggered Tour. Liverpool, Nottingham and London Shepherd's Bush. So we did them 3 gigs. I got back from London early hours. I dropped my friend off in Sheffield, got back. I was feeling a bit rough. Went to sleep. It was very late when I got back. Went to sleep. I woke up terrible, full of flu. I couldn't move. I was aching. I was like, oh no. And unfortunately, I thought in my best interest and everybody's best interest, because I didn't want to make anyone else ill, and I couldn't have really physically got to Glasgow, which was the next gig. I didn't go on the rest of the tour, which was one of them things. So that was that. And then they announced the proper Triggered Tour, which the first Triggered Tour, where they played like 10 songs from Triggered, which was a great album. I enjoyed it. And we started there in Portsmouth, and I did about 5 gigs on that tour. I really enjoyed it. And I then brought my little companion Jamie, who I work with, because I work with supported living. I do learning disabilities. I brought him to his first gigs, and he loved it. He got on well with the lads. The lads were great with him, and he's still going now. He's done 8 concerts now. And he loves it. He absolutely loves it. And there's nothing better than seeing someone like that, enjoying themselves. My job's rewarding as it is, seeing people enjoy themselves. And when you see them doing that, doing something they really like, which is going to live gigs and enjoying it. And the Wagons fans are always great with him. They get him on the barrier. Murfest just gone. I thought, we might have trouble getting him on the barrier. Not a problem at all. Everybody let him on the barrier. Absolutely. So we did the Triggered Tour, did Portsmouth, Manchester, Tivoli, I did Leeds, and then I went up to Edinburgh for the last gig, and there I actually got to sing. And I can't sing. But Baz asked, I did the grand package, which again, fantastic, absolutely fantastic event, if you ever want to do that. Baz asked, to save his voice, did someone want to sing? I stupidly got up, said I'll do Please Stay Calm, and my friend Lou got up with me, and we did Please Stay Calm, and that was an epic. Just standing on that stage with the guys was just like, whoa. And it's so difficult, it's so hard, because it's not like a karaoke where you've got the words in front of you and singing. The guys are playing it. I did Please Stay Calm. The guys play it as it's played. You miss you're clicking in your head where you've got to come in, and I'm watching Stevie and Adam where they're going to come in here, and you've got to go, and you've got to. And luckily I'd got the words written, because your mind just goes. You've got a crowd looking at you, and you're like, whoa. and you just get caught up in it, and it's so hard. It's so hard to do. And I did it. They enjoyed it. And then they announced Chepstow Castle. Now I was camping. I was away camping in South Wales. So I thought, this is a no-brainer. I'm an hour and a half away. I can fit it in camping. Anyhow, my rugby team, Lee Leopards, have got to Wembley. So I've then got a dilemma on the same day of, I'm in South Wales, Lee are at Wembley, and Massive Wagons are playing at Chepstow Castle. Let's do this. Lee haven't been to Wembley for 50 years. It's one off, got to do it. Can I get to Wembley, and then can I get to Chepstow Castle? Yes, yeah, it's happening. So off I went. But unfortunately, the weather in South Wales was shocking, and we had a few storms, and the tent got absolutely damaged. It got wrecked. So the night before Wembley and Chepstow, I actually drove home. We gave up the holiday. It was a nice holiday, but the weather was awful. It was just raining and stormy, and our campsite was right on a cliff. Stupid here. I booked it, and we were on a cliff. There was no protection, and the tent, unfortunately, got wrecked. So I drove back on the Friday night. I got back late Friday night. I was up at 6 o'clock, so off I went to Wembley. Watched the mighty Leopards win. Sorry, Kingston Rovers. And from there, I then shot across the M4, got to Chepstow for the gig, as you do. So that was an eventful. And then I drove home. So it was like virtually 24 hours on the road. But that will be with me forever, because the game at Lee was unreal. We won a drop goal in extra time, and then the lads blew Chepstow Castle away. It was an absolute blinder of a gig. So then we got to Trigger Part 2, and again I booked every gig apart from Winter Storm. I just couldn't feasible again in up there as well. So we started off in Norwich. We did Norwich, and then I was staying at my mate's house, the Bilston Bomber, and before then going down to Swansea. And I got to his house, got there no problem. Got up in the morning, click, 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 click. Oh dear. So he pushes me down his hill, gets me, I jumps into second gear, clicks it started. Luckily he had a mate who fitted me starter motor, and off I went. We were off. So we got to Swansea. I did the Triggered Part 2 tour, going to Frome, down to Bournemouth. I remember calling in Gary Pyman's shop for pasties. So if you're ever in Yeovil, call in at his pie shop. Oh, him and Alan, best pies. They're absolutely superb. I've got a funny story for you about that after. Anyhow, so we did that one, and I did the Triggered Part 2 tour. We did the Holmford Picture Dome, came up, did Liverpool, Hangar 34. We did, and we finished off in Newcastle, which was a great gig. And that's where I came across a band called the New Roses, who I'm actually going to see on this tour as well. Another set of great lads, absolutely fantastic. Love the new album, Attracted to Danger. Top guys, you know, and that was a great tour. I really loved it. Everything about that tour was just great. And the guys had gone up another level. They were on another level. They were absolutely fantastic. So we come into 24, and the guys did Porth Call, the Planet Rock Festival. So we went down there. They were headlining the Friday. So I'd only got the ticket for the Friday. So me and the Bilston Bomber went off. Gary Pyman was doing a pie order. So we all got a pie order in. So we did the gig. So after the gig, I was driving home again. So I dropped the Bilston Bomber off, and I forgot to give him his pies. And my phone died. So he was ringing and texting me all the way home. I'm driving home. Get home. Open my boot. Oops. Sorry, Bilston, I've got all your pies. Sorry, mate. Anyway, so we did that gig, and then of course he announced the Warrington gig where I'm living for the Welcome to the World album, playing full. Well, that gig was just on a different level for me. That was just seeing them play the Power Hall, and I remember seeing a picture of Weatherspoons, and it was just a mass of Massive Wagons fans. You know, there was nearly 1,000 of us in that gig, and it was a great evening, a great day. And the guys they played the album in full, and then they played a few more classics on top. It was an absolute blinder, and I really do hope that they come back one day. Who knows? I then decided they were touring again in Europe. So I'd already got Berlin and I got Hamburg on the tour. And again with me, sometimes on an ideal opportunity, a gig may just arise. And it did when they were playing Den Bosch in the Netherlands. So basically, I flew in and flew out. And that is how I came across sleeping on an airport floor, which the guys do quite regularly. Not a great experience, don't recommend it, but I flew in to Schiphol Airport, lovely train to Den Bosch, saw the gig. The guys had problems getting through the ferry and the customs and everything. They arrived at 7 o'clock, because I was stood around and like, the guys aren't here yet. There's a queue outside and the guys aren't here. They've not even sound checked, they've not been here. Where are they? Turn up. All unload, quickly throw everything on. Blinder of a gig. Just plug in and away they went. Superb gig. And that's how it goes. So we did that. I then flew home. I spent a night in Schiphol Airport on the floor. Not airport floor, not recommended really. Tired out. Got home on the Sunday, rested up, and then on Monday we're off to Berlin, and I met up with a few great friends over there. Lyndon, Sharon, Jim. Sharon, we had a couple of days in Berlin, absolute blinder. Sean and Linda and the Thackeray's, and you know, a good crowd of Wagons fans came over, and then we went to Hamburg, and the guys were excellent at Hamburg. It's different beast up there. The crowd surfing, moshing, it all goes on there, and I'm really looking forward to the first gig of the tour in Hamburg, because again it's going to be like that, and I'm hopefully catch a little bit of that for you. Who knows, I might be in the middle of it. Never know, do you? So from then on, they then announced they were doing Scotland, they were doing Dunfermline and Aberdeen, and they just recorded the Earth to Grace. And being in Patron, we got invited to the sound check. So we're in Dunfermline, and the guys were there, and they played us 4 songs off that no one had ever heard before off Earth to Grace. And the first one was Sleep Forever. And as soon as that riff started, I was like that, and all my ears stood up. Wow. They then did Missing on TV, Free and Easy, and Fun While It Lasted. Absolutely amazing. So that was included, and the gigs there in Scotland were absolutely blinding. Had 2 great gigs up there, loved it, and that was that. From then on we did Dave's Day, again another fantastic day up in Barrow. Thousands and thousands of bikers came. It was a nice day. There was some great local bands on, absolutely some superb local bands on, who were great. And the Wagons headlined it. They had Luke Morley and Susie Webb get up with them. They played a few covers. It was an absolutely brilliant day. I really loved it. And it raised a lot of money for a great person in Dave Myers. It was a great day. So then I went to Maidstone. I did the 3 days, thanks to Dave. I had 3 days. The Wagons were on, and there were some great bands on over the weekend. I had a fantastic weekend there. The weather was great with Dave and Dan, and that was a superb one. And from then on, we did the Patron again. KK's, another great event, all dressed up. I was the Mayor of Warrington, Trumpton, yeah. And I also did Laurel and Hardy. Me and Jamie did Laurel and Hardy on one of the patrons as well. Absolutely fantastic. He won an award for Barrier of the Year, which fully deserved that year. Could have been me, but nah, give it to someone who deserves it. That was really good. So the guys then announced they were touring with Kissing Dynamite and Airstrike, doing a European tour. Can I do a gig? Can I get one in? Maybe. So I secretly booked a gig. Me and my mate Pete went over. I kind of didn't tell the lads, but I did in a way. I was giving riddles. I think they knew what was happening. And we turned up to the Tricks in Antwerp. They played 40-minute set, absolute blinding set, absolutely superb. And another band who was on with them, Airstrike, who were going to be touring in the UK, and they're on with them in Europe. They were great. I really enjoyed them. So I'm hopefully going to cover a little bit of them while we're out there. So the people who are going to the 4 UK dates will get a little bit of an insight about them. And hopefully you'll learn a little bit about them, because they were great lads. I met them after the gig. They were great. They were fantastic. So we did a couple of days in Antwerp. That was a great gig. Kissing Dynamite were Kissing Dynamite. They're not big in the UK. They're quite big in Europe, and they were good. We met my friend over there again, German Dan, who come to the UK for a few gigs, and I'm meeting him in Hamburg and in a couple of gigs, and I'm actually staying at his for one of the gigs as well, which is really kind of him. And I'll repay the compliment, because I'll give him a lift to any gig he wants. We went down to London to Shepherd's Bush. I picked him up and took him down there. So we may, I'll help anyone I can. Car share, Peter Kay and all that. It's great. I love it. So the guys then do Earth to Grace. They do the signings in the record shops, and you take silly things. I took a lamp, a toilet seat, silly things, which you do. Great afternoons. The Leeds one, unfortunately, I got stuck in traffic, and I didn't really see the gig, but I got the signing. Why not? And then they announced the Earth to Grace tour, which was just on a completely different level. It was an absolutely unbelievable tour. The guys took it up a level. The album itself is one of the best albums I've ever heard. I mean, I'm going to be biased, but there's not a bad song on it. Even the bonus songs, Punk at Heart, OCD, Needles and Airs, brilliant. Love them. And they played quite a few songs off the album and live, and they all went down well. The Manchester gig at the Ritz was just a blinder. It was an absolute off the level. Baz hadn't been well in Scotland, at Glasgow, so it was a bit like that. He blew it out of the park, absolutely out of the park. He was amazing. So we did that tour, and I really enjoyed that tour. Did all the gigs on that tour, and that was absolutely fantastic. From then on, did the December. We then went to Ireland as well. I did the Ireland gigs, Belfast and Dunblin. Absolutely superb. First time I've ever been to Ireland. Loved it. I'll be back. I will be back. Great crowd. Great people. Know a few people from Ireland. Absolutely superb country. The weather wasn't great. We had a storm. But we got there. We had to catch a coach instead of a train. And the weather was a bit, the buzz was like this, giving it a bit, but we got there. 2 great gigs, and that was up to then. The guys then announced they were going on the cruise, and unfortunately, I didn't quite get there. I know a few people who went. I've seen the videos, I've seen bits and bobs. If they get back, which I think they will, they went down so well. I joined all the forums, and I've got to say, I think they'll be on another one. And you know me, I'll try and get there. Got to try and save. Now, how do I save? Do I not go to any more gigs and save for that? Or do I go to the gigs? I don't know. it's going to be an hard one. I'm going to have to get my head around that. So that was that. And then they did the Murfest, just gone. That was my 70th gig since 2021. Somebody challenged me, Steinman, challenging me 200 gigs this year. I don't think I'm going to do it, but who knows? You never know. But then again, there's a cruise. Who knows? So that's left me pondering. So we've got to see about that. The Murfest was a fantastic event. I've got to say, all the bands were amazing. The Virgin Marys, Karma Effect, Takeaway Thieves, absolutely lovely. And the great, all great guys as well, aren't they? You know, they meet up, have a chat. I took Jamie. I was worried, like a long day, how we get on. He loved it. He never stopped jumping up and down. Everyone let him on the barrier. We got to the front. He was absolutely superb. Great event. The guys blew it away. They opened up with a track called Rabbit Hole. Wow. That song, when I first heard it, I weren't keen on it. When you stuck at traffic lights, the boy racers like giving all that. Window down. Rabbit Hole full blast. You're going to beat me. Just give you a bit of Rabbit Hole. Yeah. Anyway, so they do that. Anyway, so that was a fantastic event. I loved it. And that then whet my appetite because I hadn't seen them for 4 months, which is a long time for me. It was a hard 3 months, 4 months. And then when that gig came around, whet my appetite for Europe. So we're good to go. I fly out on Saturday to Berlin because there's no flights on Sunday to Hamburg. And in part 2, I'm going to show you all about my itinerary of how I'm doing it, how I did it, the plan, and what's involved. Whether or not it all goes to plan, which I probably doubt, knowing me, we'll see. If it goes to plan, we'll see. And I'm going to try and record what I can. There'll be a few spoilers in it, so the people who are going, I'm really sorry. But it is what it is. And I'll be showing you like my train journeys, my planes, and bits and bobs. Try and bring you up to see some scenery and little bits, what's going on. And a few interviews with the bands. Bit of on air strike as well with them coming over. So we'll see you out there.